Liz, I'm so excited to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We're talking about how exactly you have saved thousands of dollars on clothes for your kids. Holy moly, who doesn't want to save thousands of dollars? I certainly do. Tell us how you source your children's clothes and how you've saved thousands of dollars.
Sure. So I get everything that I possibly can for them secondhand. So hand me downs from friends who have older kids, thrift stores, and most especially garage sales. I am a lover of the garage sale, and I've been able to get really pretty much everything I need for my daughters used, and they are 7 and 4, almost 5, and I've been doing this since before they were born. I started, when I was pregnant with my first, have not stopped, and it has been such a fantastic thing for our family.
Hmm. Well, I definitely want to talk about your love of garage sales in a minute because I have a lot of questions. Garage sales, in my mind, I just don't like them, but I think you're going to convince me. Before I ask that question, though, I have kind of a personal one, which is, did you grow up in a home in which the parents or the parental figures thrifted or embraced secondhand? And I ask that because I didn't grow up in that type of household. I grew up in a home in which everything was new. It was cheap new, like inexpensive and cheaply made new, but it was still new. And I think that for a lot of people who haven't, who, for a lot of people where like secondhand hasn't been normalized through their own childhoods, they can feel some sort of resistance. So, my question there in that long diatribe is, did you grow up in a home in which secondhand items were normalized?
Yes, frugal is in my blood. I have to say, we have like a very strong maternal line of frugal. My maternal grandfather grew up during the Depression and saved absolutely everything, reused everything, knew how to fix, sew, patch together absolutely anything. And he passed that on to his daughters, my mom being one of them. And she passed it along to her children, me being one of her children. And so it was always something that we did in our family. And what I really like is the way that my mom always framed it as a treasure hunt and as something fun. From a financial perspective, we were very comfortably middle class. We did not have to get our clothing from Goodwill, but we did because it was enjoyable. And she always made it a treasure hunt. And she loved to talk about, oh, we got this sweater from Goodwill for $1. Look, it has a tag that says Gap. And then she'd take me to the Gap store at the mall and say, look, this sweater is $50 new. And so she put it into terms that I could understand as a child. And especially as like a teenager, I was like, yes, I can definitely get more Gap jeans if we go to the thrift store than new, because I know you're not going to spend $100 on a pair of jeans for me at the mall. So she really helped me to understand that it's not so much about the value, although that's part of it, but it's like you can get the same thing for way less. And so she sort of made that gamification very, very appealing to me. And it continues to be so appealing.
I love that. Reframing it as a treasure hunt, I believe you said, reframing it as a game, a literal game. Like, let's see what we can get for less. I love that. And I bet, I'm assuming your two daughters really enjoy the hunt, the treasure hunt, the game. Is that right?
They do. So they are at the age right now where I don't like willingly take them to garage sales with me because it's too stressful. They were 4 and 6 over the summer. Summer is garage sale season. And it's like too much for me to try to manage them at a yard sale, like trying to find deals. I don't really want their opinions because I know what I need to get. But the way that I've brought them into this is by letting them pick out their wardrobe from the used clothing boxes that I have. And so this has brought them into the process. They understand that the things are secondhand. They think that's very cool. And then they are able to go through and select the stuff that they want to wear.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about how beautiful it is that the frugality that your grandfather passed down to your mother, then passed down to you. It's a generational thing that's happening right before, my eyes. And I think that's so beautiful. Um, but talk to me about the garage sales. You mentioned really liking them. What is it about a garage sale that you find preferable over, let's say, Facebook Marketplace or some online secondhand retailer?
I am the lover of the garage sale because you can make it one-stop shopping. I do not like driving around. I do not like going to stores. I got better things to do with my time. So during the summers, when we have garage sales up here, my friend and I do this together. We look at the listings for garage sales, and anytime we see something that has kids stuff, kids clothing, kids toys, we go. And if they happen to have girls who are just a little bit older than mine, I will buy almost everything they have. And this has happened to me many, many times. And this has happened to my friends who have boys. Like, same thing. It's just whatever type of kid you have, whatever they're interested in. If you find somebody else who has a similar kid who's a little older, I buy the shoes, I buy the boots, I buy the clothes, I buy the toys and the books because the tastes are similar and I can get a fantastic deal. So I this past summer was at a great yard sale where the woman had three daughters who were all like stair steps older than mine. And I went over to the clothing table and I was like, I will probably just buy all of this because she had, the pants and dresses and it was all like styles that I like, just kind of like plain, super nice. And then I also bought a ton of the toys they had because again, they were the right sort of age, maturity level, interest point for my kids. Um, so that is what I mean by one-stop shopping. Because if I do Facebook Marketplace or the thrift store, I might find one pair of pants for one of my kids. That is not going to get me very far, versus I go to a garage sale. The folks have gone to the trouble of setting this all up. They don't want to put it back away. They want you to buy it. So I very, very, very often will say, okay, I will take all of these clothes and all of these toys. How does $20 sound? And they're like, great, yes, take this stuff off my property. And I've even had people say, wait, I've got more in the house that I forgot to get out. I'm going to go get the next size up of coat. And I'm like, yes, I'll buy all your coats. It's so much less expensive. And again, you are doing them a favor. You're taking their stuff. And then the ultimate part of this too is to remember that you are then part of a cycle of giving and generosity and environmentalism because I'm keeping this stuff out of the landfill. I'm not taking on the carbon costs of shipping, manufacturing, marketing, creating. And I'm showing my kids that in the same way that this stuff is easy come to us, it's easy go as well. So when you outgrow it, we pass it along to someone else so that they can use it. And that's like really the important piece for me is that my kids understand that there is a whole list of reasons why we get things used. It's not just the dollar amount that we're saving.
As you're talking, Liz, the frugal environmentalist within me is cheering. I love everything you're saying. However, the minimalist in me is thinking, oh my goodness, if you're buying a whole table of stuff for $20, that whole table of stuff then has to be integrated into your home. That's a lot of stuff. So it sounds like your system takes a lot of time and effort on the front end to ensure that the stuff is organized, the stuff is accessible when you need it. What do you say to listeners who say, I don't have the time or the energy to put all of that work on the front end in? It's much easier for me when I see a gap in my child's wardrobe or in my child's toy room to just, go to Amazon and buy something for super cheap. Do you have any words for them?
It's so in some ways it's work on the front end, but in other ways it's not because, like I said, it's an ongoing cycle, right? So you're continuously putting stuff into the 4T bin as you get it. So then when 4T, when you hit that size, you just pull out the 4T bin. It's already labeled. So you do like as you get a bag of hand-me-downs, you do need to take the 5 or 10 minutes at that time because I used to just like throw the bag in the basement. That is a really bad idea because then you're like, oh my God, what is this? But if you take the time to sort it, when you get it, then it's not really that much stuff like at any given moment, if that makes sense. I also typically consider this a chore done with kids. Because for me, it's like during my workday, I'm not sorting clothes. I don't have time for that. I need to be working. So this has become like a fun thing. We just got a box of hand-me-downs the other day. And so I got it out when the girls were home from school. They helped me separate it out. You know, the 4-year-old is like nominally helpful, but it becomes an activity for them. That is kind of for me how it becomes a little bit more tenable that this is an activity. They are sorting, they are learning sizes, colors, they are choosing what they want to wear. They're putting stuff over here to go through the laundry. You know, they put away their own clothes. So it's kind of this like whole family activity that we can do. And, you know, sure, there is some work, but there's also work involved with going on Amazon and researching it and buying it. So it's a trade off. You have to decide, like, do I want to spend more and potentially save time, or can I incorporate this system into my life? You know, this isn't right for everybody, but if you're like curious, if you've thought about doing this, try it out and see how you can incorporate it into your routine.
Hmm. Your answer there makes me think about the differences associated with being proactive versus being retroactive in anything in life, not just in clothing our kids, but with anything. You know, when we're proactive, the one major benefit in my mind is that you don't have the stress associated with acting retroactively. So a great example here is this is a true example from my real life. My 5-year old, she has very specific clothing um, desires. And so she doesn't wear whatever I give her. She has thoughts and ideas. They have to feel a certain way. They have to fit a certain way. And so she has like basically 3 pairs of pants she likes. And wouldn't you know, the other day I went into her room and all 3 pairs, because they're leggings, they all had holes in the knees. And she can't wear holes, pants with holes everywhere. So I had to act from a retroactive space, right? I had to retroactively on the fly find some pants for her. And when you're acting, or when I'm acting in a retroactive way, that increases my stress, my cortisol levels, if we want to get scientific about it. And who needs extra cortisol, right? So if I was proactive in finding pants that she would like and wear before all of her pants got holes in them, I would still be doing work, but I would save myself the stress and overwhelm associated with having to do it right then and there. And I would say too that when we're acting from a place retroactively, we don't always make the best decisions, or at least I don't, because we're down to the wire. Time is no longer on our side. Liz, we need to talk about your daughters. I know they're similar ages to mine, and my daughters are young and don't know any better. So when a bag of hand me downs comes into our home, they think it's Christmas. They are so excited to get all these new clothes. Are your children the same?
Yes, although I had to laugh during your pants story because my 7-year-old and the pants, it is like the saga of the pants. We were going to church yesterday and she had no pants. No pants because she wears her regular pants like then as pajamas. And I'm like, well, you don't have 15 pairs of pants. I do laundry once a week. So she had to wear her ski long underwear to church. I was like, I can't let this be a lesson to you. Because so when they were younger, I just put clothes in their drawers, right? I was like, here's the hand me downs, whatever. I'm just putting in your drawers what fits you. And then I would let them choose what they wanted out of the drawer. That's what my 4-year-old does. She's whatever, she'll wear anything. She really doesn't care. My 7-year-old has extraordinarily detailed and specific ideas about the clothing that she will be wearing, none of which is stuff that I personally would pick out. It's all very interesting. So the solution I came up with for her about a year and a half ago is letting her choose from the hand-me-down box. So I get out the the size 6 winter stuff and I say, listen, here's the 3 boxes or the 2 boxes of your winter clothes. You pick what you want. So she's very good about it. Like she goes through, she picks out what she wants, she makes a pile, and then she makes a pile of stuff that she calls like terrible, which she feels I should donate. And sometimes she's right. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty bad. We'll get rid of this. And then we make a pile that I'll package back up for her little sister for the future. Fine. So I let her pick what she wants. It does mean that she didn't quite pick enough pairs of pants, but there are more pairs of pants in the basement. I let them dress themselves every day. It's completely within their purview. So they wear pants with holes, whatever. I try to have them be weather appropriate because like it's very cold here. Mixed results on that. But my goal, I'm trying to have sort of like this overarching view. And what I feel is that if I reduce the focus on their appearances, we can hopefully reduce the obsession with how we look, how our bodies should look. So I tell them you dress for comfort, for your activity, you wear whatever you want to wear. So sometimes they wear like ball gowns to school, and that's fine. I really don't care. Sometimes they wear ripped pants to church. Fine. That's what you're comfortable in. I'm not going to, choose your battles. And I feel like removing that focus hopefully helps them to not be as body and image conscious. And it also sort of disempowers any battles that we could be having over clothing. Like they're not going to get a rise out of me. I'm not going to fight with them. I'm like, you need to cover your body, wear whatever you want. So it sort of eliminates that step in the process. And they really enjoy the hand me downs. We are doing early financial literacy education, particularly with our 7-year-olds. So they do chores, they earn money, they have to track how much they've earned, how they've earned it, and then what they spent it on. And this has been very illuminating for them to see, like, oh, if I buy this book new, it's going to cost me a lot more than if I get it from the library. So we have those same conversations about clothing. Yes, you could buy new pants, but it would be $10 and that's kind of all the money you have. Or you could go with these used clothes that are free. And so I'm trying to bring them into the thought process of understanding why we do this. This is going to change and evolve as they grow older. But again, I'm trying to incorporate their desires as much as possible.
I'd love to circle back to what you were saying with regard to hopefully, if you if you present your children with a variety of secondhand clothing options and they get to choose what they want to wear, you're hoping that doing so will teach them to focus less on the outward facade. I would agree that in our culture, we tend to place an oversized emphasis on the exterior at the expense of the interior. I'm wondering though, how is this going to change as your children and my children get older? And I know that's hard to predict the future. So I'll restate my question and say, how did your mother pivot when you got older and you perhaps wanted a certain brand of jeans or a certain sweatshirt that all your friends were having? What did that look like in your home growing up?
Sure. So I think it's a question of, again, being brought into the process. So understanding the process of how the used clothes are procured, understanding all the reasons for doing used, understanding what money is and how far money will go. We do sort of such a poor job of like teaching our children about what money is and the value of money. And then also not being rigid, right? So I'm not saying, oh, I will never buy them anything new, because I do occasionally buy them new thing. My older daughter really wanted a jean jacket in a bigger size, could not find one used, so I bought her a jean jacket for her birthday. It's not a question of being like a hard liner all the time. I really see it as my guiding principle is frugality, right? Deviations from that are completely fine. And with all of this, it's also enshrining that idea of planning ahead. So, getting back to what you were talking about with the pants, getting back to this idea as they age, to the extent that I can plan ahead, I will. So, I already have hand me downs in bigger sizes so that when we reach that point, we have those options. And I am certain that they will get to a point where they say, I don't want any of these clothes. This is all terrible. And that's something that we'll address that when we come to it. But again, sort of bringing them into my line of thinking, having this frugality, environmentalism, minimalism as sort of a value from which we operate, and then Planning ahead. Planning ahead is like 90% of frugality.
I do believe that um, I do believe that when it comes to parenting, it's less about, teaching something once and then the child gets it and is on board. I think it's more about quietly living your values every single day. And sure, there will be blips in the road. The child becoming a teenager will certainly rebel, revolt, disagree. That's all normal and part of becoming an independent human being. However, I do believe that, yeah, it's just more about being quietly living your values. Maybe they'll stick, maybe they won't. And I hear you saying that that's essentially what you're doing. Frugality is your guiding principle. It permeates everything, or almost everything, I would assume, that you do in your home. And so your kids not only see that and observe it, but they likely feel it as well. You mentioned that you are a proponent of financial literacy education for your children and teaching children the value of money because that's not taught. I would so agree with that. Just the other day, my daughters had a book fair at school. They each got $20. And my younger daughter came home with all cruddy plastic junk toys, not a single book. And my other daughter, she didn't seem to understand that when the $20 was up, when gone, there wasn't more. And so that was a real come to Jesus moment for me. Like, they do not understand that this $20 did not grow on trees. They did not understand that this $20 is used to, in a part of a transaction, a financial transaction, to get something. So, what do you say to parents like me who are just completely failing at the financial literacy education portion of parenting?
Not failing at all. None of us really have much of a model for this, so I'm making it up as I go. I'm so glad you brought up the book fair because that actually launched our like financial literacy education attempts with our daughter last year when she was in kindergarten, and she brought home the book fair flyer, and I was like, "Oh, great. Another opportunity for consumerism." But then my husband said, "Wait, wait, 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 wait. She has her own money." And so the way that book fairs work in our house is that you can buy whatever you want, but it has to be with your own money. So our kids do chores. I am constantly coming up with new chores for them and I pay them. They have to keep track of their own money. And then they are allowed to essentially buy whatever they want with that money. And so the book fair is the easiest thing. And my daughter, now in first grade, she completely gets it, does not ask us for money, does not ask us to buy her anything. And she pores over that book fair thing for days, and she like circles it and makes lists. And so she most recently made her purchase. She did not buy a book. She bought it's a necklace, a sleep mask, like a diary. I was like, what even is this? But it was $7. It's what she wanted. She was like, I have $14.50. If I buy this, that will be half of my net worth going towards the sloth slumber kit. But I am okay with that trade off. And I was like, oh my God, you're hilarious. But the point is, I am, again, bringing them into the process. She is completely enfranchised. I don't care what she buys from the book fair, whatever. She's bought some, like, not what I would pick out from these book fairs. Um, but that's fine. It's her money. It's gone when it's gone. Um, and so I think for us, it's like trying to sort of turn it around and put the onus back on them for stuff like that. That's a nice to have, but not a need to have. I'm not making my 7-year-old like buy her own food at the grocery store. We'll wait until she's in high school for that. But I do think, any of these opportunities where I'm telling them, you have your money. And my 4-year-old gets it too. Like, we went to the county fair in the fall. My 4-year-old had her coin purse. She knew exactly what she wanted to buy. She wanted the blow up unicorn thing, and it was like $12. And she had it, and she sat there and counted out the money and took this unicorn home. And I was like, okay, she's getting it. Again, not what I would have spent my money on, but she very much understood what the money could do for her. And we'll get into like the concept of like saving and investing. They don't really get that. They do chores because they want to spend the money. So I feel like that will come later, but I am, really trying right now to enfranchise them really to take care of their own money, because the way I see this playing out later on is in something like paying for college. I have a lot of friends with older kids, and what they've done with college is said, listen, you get this much money for college, do with it what you will. If you go to Vanderbilt, you're going to run out of money in a semester. If you go to University of Missouri, you could pay all the way through to your PhD, right? And so it's, again, I'm really, really trying to enfranchise my kids to have ownership and skin in the game, whether it's the book fair or college. So, like TBD, they're 4 and 7, so we'll see how it goes. But so far, this seems to be working.
Well, yeah, it must work because they're learning in the real world, right? Like there's lessons that can be learned and perhaps fall short when a parent or, a lecturer is indeed lecturing, right? But uh, they had to work for their money. So, and then when they purchase something at the book fair, at the fair, the summer fair, uh, you know, they have to weigh whether the amount of work that they did to earn the money is worth the thing that they're contemplating spending the money on. So that's real world wisdom that they're attaining right there. When Tell me about chores, because my children do not do chores and I'm thinking they should. When did you start the chore aspect of earning money with them? What do their chores look like? Tell me all of that.
This all kicked off with the stupid book fair thing. Again, this was like a year ago in kindergarten. And it was like on the fly, because she was like, I want you to buy me this. And my husband and I were like, absolutely not. And she said, well, how can I get the money for it? And so she had that desire. She like desperately wanted the unicorn play pack, whatever it was. And so that sort of got us thinking. We have always, like, from the time that they could walk, had our kids do chores around the house, like helping out, baby carry the socks over to the drawer. Like, we've always had them engaged in setting the table. And, so they have a set of chores that they do that we do not pay them for, that we're very clear that these are the chores you do because you are a member of the family. So for my 7-year-old, she lets the chickens out every morning. She collects the eggs. She has to close up the coop. She does not get paid for that. My 4-year-old has to make her bed. Mixed results, but she does not get paid for that. My 7-year-old has to put away her laundry anytime it's clean, does not get paid for that. They have to clean up after themselves, help load the dishwasher, stuff like that. That, again, I think it's really important that they understand, like, this is just your minimum viable for being part of this family, kid. Then they can choose to do extra chores, which I will pay them for. I have had to like think really hard, because a 4-year-old who is like very small for her age, there's not a whole lot she can do. Her best chore is collecting the trash cans from around the house and putting them into the kitchen trash. She is very good at that. She also sorts the laundry. So I dump the laundry in a pile, and she'll put mama's clothes here, her sister's clothes here. Great. She folds towels. They look terrible when she's done, but she gets it, So giving her, it's for her, for the 4-year-old, it's really like enfranchising her to feel confident that I can participate. And then my 7-year-old is like, she is fantastic. She reorganized the entire kitchen for us. I paid her $10 for that, because she took everything out of the drawers and like completely reorganized. I mean, she spent hours on it. And that was really me finding something that she already enjoys doing. She likes to organize and she likes to take stuff apart. She also she put away my laundry. So if she puts away my laundry, I'll pay her. If she puts away her sister's laundry, I'll pay her. Trash, taking the trash out, taking the compost out, cleaning. We are working on cleaning the bathroom. I would say that is like a stretch. My 7-year-old like kind of can do it, but the goal for these chores is that they do it independently and I don't have to go after them and clean up again. So cleaning the bathroom, like maybe next year. Sweeping, vacuuming, clearing the table, and then ad hoc things like helping me I needed to like address a bunch of letters that we were sending out for our church. And I was like, here, do this page of address labels for me. And I don't pay them very much for each chore. It's 50 cents, it's $1. Like I said, $10 was reorganizing the whole kitchen because I don't think they need to have out of control spending power. And I want to make it sustainable. I had a friend who was giving her daughter $1 for every pair of socks she matched up in the laundry. That did not work out. She was like out of money. So I try to keep it sustainable so that they can do a lot of chores. And I find that when they want to buy something, they're very motivated to do chores. They're not always, because they're like, oh, I have plenty of money. I don't need to do those chores. But yeah, so I'm always brainstorming like new ideas, but it's really important to me that they understand everything that it takes to keep a household running and that they understand their role in it, but also that they have power. They can choose to do these things and I will reimburse them for it.
So, Liz, I'm going to give my daughter's chores. You've just reinvigorated me. Like, why haven't I done this yet? I love the umbrella theme to our conversation, which is that resources are finite, whether it's planetary resources, whether it's financial resources. Resources have a limit. And if we're not explicitly showing and teaching our kids this through chores, through embracing secondhand, they might grow up to not understand that resources are indeed finite. So I have one more clarifying question for you about chores. And it's because I fear that enacting a chore regimen, I don't think regimen's the right word, but enacting chores in my children's life is going to make my life harder. I feel like I'm going to be nagging them. I feel like it's just going to be extra verbal back and forth that I really don't know if I have the energy for. So how does that work in your home so that the chores are a teachable moment, but they're also not more work, more stress, more hassle for you?
Part of it is trial and error. So, like I said, the cleaning the bathroom thing, like everybody was super excited. And then it was like a huge mess. And I was like, okay, out. This is not going to work, right? That was an example of a bad chore. A great chore, though, collecting the trash for my 4-year-old. She, like, if you try to help her, she's like, no, 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 I got it. Because she knows how to do it. She's better at it than her sister, honestly. It's just like, that is her chore. So she takes great responsibility. She's like, this is my job. I do the trash. For their daily chores that they just have to do every day that I don't pay them for, that is just part of life. Like letting the chickens out in the morning, to unpacking your own lunchbox, helping make your lunch. It's not even a conversation or an argument. It's just this is what we do. When I have chores that my older daughter needs to do, but isn't, again, this is for if they're not being paid for it, she cannot watch TV or do the fun thing until she completes the chores. So occasionally she is up in her bedroom putting away her laundry while her sister starts the evening TV show. And that's a hard lesson. And she said, I need to manage my time better. Well, she didn't say that. I said, you need to manage your time better. And it's like, those are those learning opportunities. And she's like, well, can't I do it after TV? No, and this is just being firm as a parent, setting the expectations. Like I told you 2 hours ago, you needed to do this. I'm sorry that you're going to miss the beginning of Nature Cat because you're still putting away your laundry. For the chores that I pay them for, if I have to nag or remind, they don't get paid. They figured that out real quick. It's, if you're getting paid for something, you're my employee and I expect you to do a good job. And so if they don't complete the work or they whine about it, they don't get paid. If they need help, I will help them. But they, they figured out, and occasionally they will bail in the middle of a chore and I'll say, you're not going to get paid for this. And they say, I know, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Okay, fine. So it's kind of that two-tiered system of, the stuff that you're expected to do that you don't get paid for, you just have to do it as part of the morning. And, I have a little chart for them of what they need to do every morning. They can check it off. My 7-year-old though now is like, I have my chart memorized. And she just like runs around and does it. 4-year-old is always like, what's on my list? What? I'm like, literally it's the same thing every day. Like, get dressed. Like, come on, you can do this. Yeah, and for the paid chores, it's a bit of a learning curve where they had to realize, like, oh, mom's not going to pay us if we don't like do a good job. Like, if you don't get all the trash cans, I'm not paying you, because the job, like the scope of work was all the trash cans. So yeah. Does that help?
Yes. It makes me think of some viral photo I saw online, which was essentially a board with a chore written by a parent on a let's say an index card: empty the trash bins, or empty the dishwasher, or I don't know, think about something else. Make your bed. And then behind the card was money. So 50 cents in a baggie or $1 in a baggie. And so the kids get to choose the chores they want to do. And if they do it, they receive the payment, I guess, for lack of a better word, for doing it successfully. And I think that's what I'm going to do in my house because, yeah, you on board? You think that's good?
This is what I want to do. The issue is that my 4-year-old can't read, and also like would 100% just steal the money at this point. Like so, but my idea, what I really want to do is have it, and I'm just going to list the dollar amount, not actually put the money there, but list like this is a $1 chore, this is a $10 chore, and then my idea is like they'll take it off, almost like how they do in like computer coding. You like take off like this is the job I'm doing, they do it, and then they like deposit it, like cash it in with me. I totally want to do this when the little one can read, because otherwise the 7-year-old is just going to like lord it over her that she can't read. So yeah,
Yeah, maybe if you're a good artiste, you can draw a little picture.
I am not. I have tried, and they're like, "Mom, what is?" I'm like, I can't draw. I don't know. I can't do this.
So I just want to, before we say goodbye, Liz, I want to bring the conversation back around to where we started. We started with secondhand clothes, kids' clothes, and then we really went off on a phenomenal tangent. But you did allude to the fact that if your kids have to pay for their wants, not their needs, but their wants with the money that they've earned, they've started, especially your older one, has started to realize that they can get a lot more bang for their hard earned buck by purchasing secondhand. And so that brings me to the question that I really want to get your insight on, which is how can we normalize secondhand? I mean, in our homes, we can do, all the things we've talked about today, but I don't feel as though as a culture, secondhand is embraced, especially when, you can go to Target, your child needs leggings, and you can go to Target and get $6 leggings. Like, inexpensive goods are indeed so inexpensive that for a lot of people listening, I would assume they're saying to themselves, well, why bother? I can get $6 pants at Target. $6 pants, you know, is better. $6 new pants is better than 50-cent used pants that I have to spend a lot of time searching for. So, do you have any final big picture thoughts on normalizing secondhand stuff, not just for our wallets, but also for the planet? Because again, resources are indeed finite.
Yes, and you hit the nail on the head. It's really thinking about the environmental aspect, right? Because I think there's sometimes this confusion where I don't shop secondhand because I can't afford new. I can afford new. I choose secondhand because fast fashion is, terrible for workers, terrible for working conditions, horrible for the climate. Like, I don't like what it says about sort of our materialistic culture. So for me, it really goes so far beyond the money saved. It's also, to me, it's a no brainer because I can get the same thing for less. And anytime I can do that, I'm doing it because then I can use that money on something that I can't get for less, right? I can use that on a museum membership, on a vacation with the kids, on going skiing, right? So for me, it's so much more important to save the money on the stuff that just does not matter to me and then put that money towards things that really do matter. And that's sort of the emphasis that I try to teach my kids about too, is that it's like you can afford whatever you want, but you can't afford everything. And so, how do you want to use those resources wisely? And again, to me, it's like it is a game, it is a hobby, it is a treasure hunt. Like, I mean, it's just like if I can get like brand new looking Hannah Anderson dresses for $1 at a garage sale, like I'm like, this is amazing. And then of course my 7-year-old won't wear them, and I'm like, but like these are so cute. She's like, I don't like them, but it for me, it becomes this whole holistic thing. I also just like really do not care what other people think. That's another element of this, is living by your own values. And we say to our girls all the time, in any context with anything, this is what our family chooses to do. Like, I understand that other kids in your class have iPads, our family does not. This is what our family does. Every family is different, so it's not a judgment on other families. I don't care what other people do, but it's showing my daughters like, we make choices as a family. Some of them are open for negotiation, some of them are not, because we are the parents and we are in charge. And for me, this a lot of this stems from the book Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne. And then he also has a Simplicity Discipline book. These are my two like all-time favorite books. Parenting book, any book, just so fantastic, because he talks a lot about this sort of minimal, simple approach to parenting and how you create these family philosophies. And so, if my girls, if they were to say something like, why don't we get brand new clothes? I'd say, well, let's talk about that, instead of me just saying, no, don't ask that. It's okay, let me talk you through my thought process. I'm not going to change my approach, but I'm very happy to answer your questions, explain it to you, and then I'm fine with having the firm line of, this is what our family does. And we will sometimes say, when you are an adult and you have bought your own house, you can paint the doors pink. Okay, but since this is our house, you cannot paint your door pink. And it's just kind of creating those boundaries and helping them understand that as a kid, you have some say, you don't have every say, and helping them to feel secure within the knowledge that like their parents are going to take care of them.
Giving them a bit of freedom, giving them a bit of rope, but not letting them hang themselves or hurt themselves with the bit of rope you've given them. I think that's what you're saying there, and I love it. I know there's like a much better saying than that, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But give them a little, don't give them unfettered amounts. Liz, tell my listeners where they can find you, your blog, all the things online.
Sure. So the blog is frugalwoods.com, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at frugalwoods. I work one on one with clients to do financial consulting and planning, and you can hire me through Frugalwoods. And I also run a free month long Uber Frugal Month challenge, which takes you through all the steps to save more money than you ever thought possible. And we have a group challenge starting January 1st, 2023. And there are mastermind groups that you can join if you want to have help on that journey. So it's all at frugalwoods.com.
I'm joining that challenge, Liz. Like, I'm number one. Sign me up. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. I've really genuinely enjoyed talking to you. We talked for 20 minutes longer than I thought we would. So that's a testament to how much I like you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.